I watched a mouse eat baking soda and expected nothing. 3 hours later, I found something that changed everything I thought I knew about pest control. The science behind what happened is so disturbing that chemical companies have spent millions keeping this quiet. Why are they so desperate to hide this? Pest control doesn't have to involve calling someone in a hazmat suit. Your kitchen cabinet holds one of the most effective, safest pest fighting weapons you never knew you had. We're talking about plain old baking soda, that humble white powder sitting next to your vanilla extract. Most commercial pesticides come with warning labels that read like horror movie scripts. Keep away from children. Avoid skin contact. May cause respiratory irritation. Well, baking soda laughs at those warnings. You literally bake cookies with this stuff. Your toddler could accidentally lick some off the floor, and the worst thing that happens? They make a funny face because it tastes terrible, but here's where things get interesting. Just because it's safe for humans doesn't mean insects feel the same way. Roaches, ants, and other unwelcome house guests react very differently to baking soda than we do. What's harmless to us becomes their worst nightmare. Makes sense, right? Then there's the money factor. A single bottle of professional-grade insecticide can cost you $30 to $50. A box of baking soda, maybe $2 on a bad day. You could treat your entire house for the price of a fancy coffee drink. Plus, that same box handles your baking needs, cleans your drains, and freshens your fridge. Talk about multitasking. Let's not forget the convenience factor here. No special trips to the hardware store. No waiting for the pest control guy to show up. Most people already have baking soda at home, and if they don't, every grocery store, gas station, and corner market stocks it. You could literally grab some during your regular shopping trip and start fighting pests the same day. The real kicker? This method has serious street cred. Your great-grandmother probably used baking soda to deal with ants marching across her kitchen counter. Before chemical pesticides became the default solution, households relied on simple, effective remedies that actually worked. Sometimes the old ways stick around because they're genuinely better, not just cheaper. Scientific testing backs up what generations of homeowners already knew. Researchers have documented baking soda's effectiveness against cockroaches, various ant species, and several other common household pests. This isn't just wishful thinking or folk remedy nonsense. The results are measurable and repeatable. And the weird part is how versatile this approach can be. Some pests eat the baking soda and suffer internal consequences. Others avoid it entirely, treating it like an invisible force field. Still others get physically damaged just by crawling through it. One simple ingredient, multiple ways it can solve your pest problems. The beauty lies in what doesn't happen when you use baking soda. No toxic residues coating your kitchen surfaces. No chemical smells lingering in your bedroom. No worrying about whether your curious cat or crawling baby might get into something dangerous. You're essentially fighting pests with an ingredient you'd willingly put in pancakes. But how exactly does this kitchen staple transform into a pest-fighting powerhouse? The mechanisms behind baking soda's effectiveness reveal some truly fascinating science. Understanding how baking soda actually works against pests isn't rocket science, but the mechanics might surprise you. When insects eat baking soda, their bodies can't handle what happens next. Here's the wild part. Most insects lack the ability to burp or release gas naturally. Humans, we belch without thinking twice. But roaches, ants, and similar pests are built differently. Once baking soda hits their stomach acid, it creates carbon dioxide gas. That gas builds up inside them with nowhere to go. The pressure keeps mounting until their digestive system simply can't cope anymore. Then there's the drying effect, which works like a microscopic nightmare for soft-bodied creatures. Slugs sliding across a line of baking soda, they'll retreat fast. The sodium bicarbonate literally pulls moisture from their slimy bodies, making every step painful. Fleas face similar trouble when baking soda gets into their joints and under their shells. But why do some bugs seem to avoid treated areas entirely? Well, many crawling insects have developed survival instincts over millions of years. They can detect chemical changes in their environment that signal danger. A barrier of baking soda might smell wrong to them, triggering their natural flight response before they even make contact. Rodents present a completely different challenge. Mice and rats are smart enough to be suspicious of new food sources, but they're also opportunistic eaters. Mix baking soda with something irresistible like peanut butter or chocolate, and their caution often loses to their appetite. Once they consume enough, The gas production affects them similarly to insects, though their larger size means the process works more slowly. The weird part is how differently each species reacts to the same treatment. Carpenter ants might gobble up a sugar baking soda mixture, while fire ants completely ignore it. Some roach species die within hours, while others seem barely affected. German cockroaches typically respond faster than their American cousins. Let's not forget that pest behavior varies by season and location, too. Hungry spring ants emerging from winter might take any bait you offer. Summer ants with plenty of outdoor food sources, they're pickier. Desert-dwelling pests already adapted to harsh, dry conditions might shrug off baking soda's desiccating properties. The concentration matters more than most people realize. Too little baking soda won't generate enough internal pressure to be lethal. Too much creates a mixture so obviously artificial that smart pests won't touch it. Finding that sweet spot requires some experimentation. Environmental factors play their part as well. Humidity can clump baking soda into ineffective chunks. Heat can cause it to break down before pests encounter it. Even the pH of surfaces where you place it can alter its effectiveness. What makes this particularly fascinating is how baking soda exploits fundamental differences between human and pest biology. We process sodium bicarbonate safely through our digestive systems. Our bodies handle gas production without catastrophic consequences. Pests lack these same biological safeguards. Now that you understand the science behind why baking soda works, let's dive into the most satisfying application: completely eliminating those nearly indestructible kitchen invaders that seem immune to everything else. You know how roaches seem to survive everything? Nuclear bombs, freezer temperatures, even your landlord's half-hearted pest control attempts. Well, turns out these invincible creatures have one surprising weakness: a simple mix of baking soda and sugar. Here's the deal: roaches can't resist sweet stuff. Sugar calls to them like a siren song, and they'll march right into your trap without a second thought. But here's where it gets interesting, and a little gross. When roaches munch on that sugar baking soda combo, the baking soda starts doing its deadly work inside their bodies. The science behind this is actually pretty wild. Roaches don't burp. Sounds funny, but it's true. Unlike humans who can release gas when things get uncomfortable, roaches have no way to let out the carbon dioxide that builds up when baking soda hits their stomach acid. The gas just keeps building and building until, well, let's just say the roach problem solves itself from the inside out. Making your roach-killing mixture couldn't be easier. Equal parts baking soda and sugar work best. Some people swear by a 3-to-1 sugar ratio, claiming roaches are more likely to take the bait. Mix it up in a small bowl until it looks like one uniform powder. The goal is making the baking soda invisible to your unwanted guests. Then, there's the placement strategy, which matters more than most people realize. Roaches aren't randomly wandering around your house. They follow specific highways. Behind the refrigerator, where it's warm and dark. Under the kitchen sink, where pipes create moisture. Along baseboards near the stove. These are roach superhighways, and that's where your baking soda mix needs to go. Sprinkle thin lines of the mixture in these spots. Think less mountain of powder and more light dusting. Too much scares them away. Too little won't do the job. You want just enough to coat their little legs as they walk through it, guaranteeing they'll clean themselves later and ingest your homemade poison. But let's get real about timing. This isn't some overnight miracle cure. Most people start seeing dead roaches within 3 to 5 days. Bigger infestations can take 2 weeks or more. The roaches that ate your mixture first will die quickly, but others might avoid the areas where their buddies met their doom. Roaches are surprisingly smart about avoiding danger zones. Professional exterminators will tell you their methods work faster and they're right, but their chemicals cost 10 times more and fill your home with toxins that linger for months. Your kids and pets have to deal with those residues long after the roaches are gone. The weird part is how effective this old-school method really is. Your grandmother probably used the same trick, and it worked just as well in her kitchen as it does in yours today. Sometimes the simplest solutions are hiding in plain sight. Speaking of simple solutions, roaches aren't the only pests that fall for baking soda tricks. Ants present their own unique challenge, but the approach needs some serious tweaking to work on these organized little armies. Remember how roaches practically line up to eat that sugar and baking soda combo? Well, ants present a completely different challenge. These tiny workers might seem like easy targets, but there's a catch that'll make you rethink everything. Worker ants absolutely love powdered sugar mixed with baking soda. They'll grab it, munch on it, and suffer the same digestive chaos that kills roaches. The baking soda creates gas bubbles in their stomachs, disrupting their entire system until they die. Sounds perfect, right? Here's where things get interesting. You're only killing the ants you can see. Those busy little workers marching across your counter represent just 10% of the entire colony. The other 90%, they're chilling underground with the queen, completely safe from your baking soda trap. It's like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. The worker ants that find your baking soda bait will definitely die within hours, but the queen keeps pumping out new workers faster than you can kill them. She's basically running an ant factory while you're playing whack-a-mole with her employees. Let's not forget that ant colonies operate like tiny military units. When workers don't return from foraging missions, the colony adapts. They might send different workers or avoid your treated areas entirely. Some species even have multiple queens, making your job twice as hard. The weird part is how ants share food. Sometimes workers bring food back to feed the larvae and other colony members. This means your baking soda might reach deeper into the colony through food sharing. But don't get too excited, it's still nowhere near enough to wipe out the entire population. And the really frustrating thing? Different ant species react differently to baking soda. Sugar ants might gobble it up eagerly, while carpenter ants prefer protein-based foods and ignore your sweet trap completely. Fire ants are even pickier, often detecting the baking soda and steering clear. You'll need to place your baking soda and sugar mixture directly along ant trails for maximum effect. But here's the kicker. Ants constantly change their routes based on food sources and threats. Today's highway becomes tomorrow's abandoned path. Professional exterminators use borax-based baits that work much better for complete colony elimination. Borax disrupts ant metabolism more effectively and spreads through food sharing more efficiently than baking soda. It's like comparing a water gun to a fire hose. Then there's the patience factor. Baking soda might reduce the number of ants you see, but expect weeks or months of continuous treatment. Most people give up after a few days thinking it doesn't work. The truth? Baking soda works as a temporary ant reducer, not an ant eliminator. You'll kill some workers and maybe discourage others, but the colony survives to fight another day. But what about those pests that actually live where you sleep? Bedbugs and fleas present entirely different challenges that'll test every home remedy trick you know. Fighting bedbugs and fleas with baking soda feels like bringing a butter knife to a sword fight. These pests are stubborn little survivors that have plagued humans for centuries. But here's the thing. Baking soda can still pack a punch if you know what you're dealing with. Bedbugs are picky eaters. They want your blood, not your kitchen ingredients. That means they won't munch on baking soda like roaches do with that sugar mixture. Instead, the soda works as a drying agent, slowly dehydrating their soft outer shells. Think of it like walking barefoot on rough concrete. Eventually, it wears you down. Sprinkle baking soda around bed frames, mattress seams, and baseboards where these bloodsuckers hide during the day. The fine powder gets on their bodies as they crawl through it. Over time, this constant contact strips away their protective waxy coating. Without that barrier, they lose moisture and die. But we're talking weeks, not days. Fleas present a different challenge altogether. Adult fleas spend most of their time on your pets, not your carpet. The real targets are flea eggs and larvae hiding deep in carpet fibers and upholstery. These baby fleas are soft-bodied and vulnerable to dehydration. Here's where things get interesting. Flea eggs make up about 60% of the flea population in your home at any given time. Those eggs drop off your pet constantly, creating a hidden nursery throughout your house. Baking soda can eliminate many of these developing pests before they become biting adults. Work the powder deep into carpet fibers using a stiff brush or broom. Don't just sprinkle it on top, that's amateur hour. You need to get down where the action happens. Let it sit overnight, giving the soda time to work its drying magic on eggs and larvae. Well, here comes the crucial step most people skip. Vacuum thoroughly the next day. This removes dead pests, unhatched eggs, and excess baking soda. Your vacuum becomes a cleanup crew and pest removal service rolled into one. Empty that bag or canister immediately. You don't want survivors staging a comeback. Repeat this process weekly until you stop seeing new fleas. Consistency beats intensity here. One treatment won't solve a full-blown infestation, but regular applications can slowly reduce the population. Think of it as pest control through persistence rather than knockout power. The weird part is that both bedbugs and fleas have developed resistance to many commercial pesticides over the years. These chemicals hit them hard and fast, creating evolutionary pressure to adapt. Baking soda works differently. It's a slow mechanical process rather than a chemical attack. Pests can't exactly evolve thicker skin to combat dehydration. Let's not forget the practical benefits. You can sleep in treated rooms without worrying about toxic fumes. Kids and pets can play on carpets that were treated days earlier. Compare that to professional fumigation that requires you to leave your home for hours or even days. But here's the reality check. Baking soda won't replace professional treatment for severe infestations. Sometimes you need the big guns. Yet for minor problems or as part of ongoing prevention, this approach offers a gentler alternative that keeps working behind the scenes. Speaking of bigger challenges, what happens when your pest problems move beyond tiny insects to something with actual size? When you spot tiny droppings in your pantry or hear scratching sounds at night, baking soda can become your secret weapon against mice and other small rodents. But here's the thing. Rodents won't just walk up to a pile of white powder and start munching. They're way too smart for that. The trick lies in making baking soda irresistible. Mix equal parts baking soda with peanut butter, creating a paste that smells fantastic to hungry mice. You could also blend it with chocolate powder or even bacon bits if you're feeling creative. The key is disguising that chalky taste behind something mice absolutely can't resist. Place these baits where mice love to travel, along walls, behind appliances, or in those dark corners where you spotted their calling cards. Mice stick to familiar routes, so they'll stumble across your traps during their nightly food hunts. Makes sense, right? Well, here's where things get interesting. Once mice consume this mixture, the baking soda reacts with stomach acid to produce carbon dioxide gas. Unlike humans who can burp to release pressure, mice cannot expel this gas effectively. The buildup causes serious digestive distress and can prove fatal to these small creatures. But let's be honest, this method isn't lightning fast. Commercial snap traps kill instantly, while baking soda baits might take several days to show results. You'll need patience and persistence, especially if you're dealing with multiple mice or particularly cautious rodents who test food before diving in. The real advantage comes down to safety and cleanup. No blood, no messy disposal of trapped animals, and zero risk of pets or kids accidentally triggering dangerous mechanisms. Your golden retriever might sniff the bait, but a small amount won't harm larger animals the way it affects tiny mouse digestive systems. Then, there's the cost factor. A box of baking soda and jar of peanut butter costs less than fancy electronic traps or monthly exterminator visits. Plus, you probably have these ingredients sitting in your kitchen right now. And the weird part is, this method works better as part of a team effort rather than going solo. Seal up entry points with steel wool while using baking soda baits inside. Remove other food sources that compete with your carefully crafted mouse treats. Clean up crumbs and store pantry items in sealed containers. And some folks worry about using any kind of rodent control, but remember, mice carry diseases and contaminate food supplies. They also reproduce incredibly quickly, turning a small problem into a major infestation within weeks. One pregnant female can produce up to 10 litters per year. The beauty of baking soda lies in its selectivity. It targets the specific digestive limitations of small rodents while remaining relatively harmless to larger household members. Just remember to refresh baits weekly since peanut butter can go rancid, and mice prefer fresh food over stale offerings. While indoor pest control keeps your home comfortable, your outdoor spaces face entirely different challenges that require adjusted strategies. Your indoor baking soda tricks work great, but step outside and things get even more interesting. Garden pests hate this stuff just as much as their indoor cousins do. Slugs are probably your biggest fans of this discovery. These slimy plant destroyers absolutely despise crawling over baking soda. Why? It acts like sandpaper made of salt crystals against their soft, moist bodies. Sprinkle a thin line around your prized tomatoes or lettuce, and watch slugs take a hard detour. They'll literally change direction mid-slither rather than cross that white barrier. Pretty satisfying to watch, honestly. Ants get the same treatment outdoors as they do inside your kitchen. Worker ants carrying that powdered sugar and baking soda mixture back to their outdoor colonies face the same digestive chaos. Garden anthills can be stubborn, but consistent baiting around their entrances puts serious pressure on their food gathering operations. Then there are those pesky beetles that munch on your vegetables. Many species avoid walking through baking soda dust because it irritates their legs and antennae. Japanese beetles, cucumber beetles, and flea beetles often skip right over plants dusted with a light coating of soda. But here's where baking soda gets really clever. It doubles as a plant protector against diseases. Powdery mildew, that white fuzzy stuff that ruins roses and cucumbers. Baking soda creates an alkaline environment that stops this fungus dead in its tracks. Black spot on roses gets the same treatment. Mix 1 teaspoon of baking soda with a quart of water, spray it on affected plants, and watch those diseases retreat. The trick is moderation, though. Too much baking soda raises sodium levels in your soil, which most plants absolutely hate. Their roots can't handle excessive salt buildup. Use just enough to create barriers and treat problems, not enough to carpet your entire garden white. Weather becomes your biggest challenge outdoors. Rain washes away your carefully placed barriers faster than you can say slug trail. After every decent storm, you're back to square one, reapplying around vulnerable plants. Wind doesn't help either, scattering your pest barriers before they can do their job. Smart gardeners time their applications right after rain stops, but before pests get active again. Early morning works best since many garden pests do their worst damage at night. Fresh barriers give you maximum protection when you need it most. Salt-sensitive plants need special attention here. Ferns, azaleas, and most flowering annuals can suffer if you get too generous with the soda. Their leaves might yellow, or their growth might slow down if sodium levels climb too high around their root zones. The real magic happens when you combine outdoor baking soda use with other natural methods. Companion planting, beneficial insects, and proper watering schedules work together with your soda barriers to create a hostile environment for pests while keeping your plants happy and healthy. Even the best outdoor pest control strategy needs some backup plans, though, and knowing the potential problems with baking soda helps you avoid costly mistakes. Baking soda isn't magic. It's a helpful tool, but like any tool, you can mess things up if you use it wrong. The biggest mistake people make, going overboard and dumping it everywhere like they're salting a driveway in winter. Here's what happens when you get too enthusiastic with the white powder. Plants start looking sad. The salt content in baking soda can build up in soil, creating a hostile environment for your garden. Your roses might survive, but delicate plants like ferns and petunias will throw in the towel faster than you can say sodium bicarbonate. Even beneficial insects, the ones that actually help your garden, will pack their bags and leave. Then there's the resistance issue. Pests aren't stupid. Well, they're not smart either, but they adapt. Some ants will start avoiding areas where you've repeatedly used baking soda. It's like they're telling their buddies, hey, stay away from that corner. Steve ate some white stuff there last week and exploded. Roaches can develop similar avoidance behaviors, making your efforts less effective over time. But wait, there's more weirdness. Some people think more equals better results. Wrong. A thick layer of baking soda doesn't kill more pests. It just creates a crusty mess that's harder to clean up. You want thin, strategic applications where pests actually travel, not a winter wonderland coating on every surface. Let's not forget about timing. Baking soda treatments work slowly. If you're dealing with a serious infestation, waiting weeks for results while roaches throw parties in your kitchen isn't practical. Professional exterminators exist for good reasons, and sometimes speed matters more than saving a few bucks. The smart approach involves combining methods. Use baking soda for minor problems and prevention, but don't rely on it as your only weapon. Seal cracks, eliminate water sources, keep surfaces clean. Basic stuff that makes your home less appealing to unwanted visitors. Think of baking soda as your supporting actor, not the star of the show. Always clean up excess powder after treating an area. Leaving white residue everywhere looks sloppy and can harm pets or children if they ingest large amounts. Vacuum thoroughly, especially in carpeted areas where you've treated for fleas or other pests. Weather plays a role too. Outdoor applications get washed away by rain, so don't expect miracles if you're treating garden pests during a wet season. Reapply as needed, but remember that frequent applications increase the risk of soil problems. The best practice? Start small. Test baking soda treatments in limited areas before going full scale. Monitor results for at least 2 weeks. If you see improvement, great. Continue with the same approach. If pests persist or problems worsen, it's time to consider other options. Moderation wins every time. Use enough to be effective, but not so much that you create new problems. Your goal is solving pest issues, not replacing them with plant damage or crusty white residue everywhere. Speaking of effectiveness, certain pests respond better to completely different approaches, which brings us to exploring when baking soda simply isn't the right choice for your specific situation.